Another military corruption scandal, high-priced missile fuel used to cook hot pot. Tsinghua professor's freedom test at Sitong Bridge leads to trouble. China's civil aviation records 30 billion loss last year, accumulating 400 billion during pandemic. Stock traders on Mainland cry rebellion as SPDB advises against stock market investment. Imminent cleanup in 5 major sectors puts China's capital giants at risk. It's all covered in today's China Truths. Another military corruption scandal, high-priced missile fuel used to cook hot pot. Lately, a wave of reports has been revealing deep-rooted corruption in the Chinese Communist Party's military, especially in its rocket force. Just recently, Yao Cheng, who used to be with the CCP Navy Command, has come out with yet another startling fact. They were so short on supplies that they ended up using jet fuel to cook hot pot. Speaking to Radio Free Asia, RFA, on the 8th, he said, the misuse of equipment funds in the military is particularly severe. When we were in the army, for cooking in the family quarters, we would either use oil from aircraft fuel tanks or cook with aviation fuel, which, when burned, produced a green flame and had no odor. The situation even reached a point where, in order to cook hot pot in the military, we would take out chunks of solid fuel from missiles, one piece at a time, because the other logistical supports in the army couldn't keep up. I often went to the ordnance store to get these small, round pieces of solid fuel, and we would use one when we wanted to cook hot pot. Yao Cheng said that the solid fuel used to propel rockets and ballistic missiles in the air is expensive, but when the troops lacked logistical support, they could only use this solid fuel to cook hot pots, prepare meals, or offer favors. Meanwhile, Mr. Duan, a commentator familiar with the Chinese military, shared with RFA that while these reports from US media are unverifiable, they seem plausible given the state of the Chinese military. He stated that military corruption has been more severe and long-standing than local corruption, exacerbated by the military's relatively isolated and independent structure. High-ranking officials like former vice-chairman of the Central Military Commission, Guo Buxiong and Su Kai-ho, have been implicated in corruption, as reported officially in China. Mr. Duan also noted that monetary influence is significant in the CCP military for promotions. He stated that scenarios such as missiles filled with water and inoperable launch well covers, though unverified, are entirely possible. U.S. intelligence indicates that severe corruption exists within the Chinese rocket force, impairing Xi Jinping's ability to execute major military operations. On the same day, January 8, military expert Chen Guoming remarked that the corruption within the CCP's People's Liberation Army is advantageous to both Taiwan and the U.S., and should be regarded optimistically. He recommended that Taiwan use the upcoming 3 to 5 years to significantly strengthen its defense capabilities. Tsinghua professor's freedom test at Sitong Bridge leads to trouble. On January 8, the well-known social media account News Investigation posted this information on the X platform. They shared screenshots that revealed an incident involving Associate Professor Kai Wanhuan, who teaches thought and politics at Tsinghua University's School of Marxism. In his class, he discussed freedom of speech in China. According to the screenshots, a student claimed they were apprehended by the police for taking a photo while passing by Sitong Bridge. Initially skeptical and expressing that the CCP wouldn't engage in such behavior, Kai decided to visit the bridge and take a photo himself. However, he too was registered by the police. Subsequently, he began expressing his discontent on social media. This revelation led to ridicule from internet users. A lifetime of learning and work turned out to be a deception. He never truly understood the iron fist until it affected him. He used to propagate rumors and tarnish others, but when it hit close to home, he crumbled. In October 2022, a mainland Chinese individual named Peng Lifa hung a banner protesting against Xi Jinping on Beijing's Sitong Bridge, challenging the authorities' zero-COVID policies and more. Peng Lifa has remained in secret detention ever since. There are online rumors suggesting that following this incident, bridge monitors have emerged at various overpasses in Beijing to prevent individuals from displaying banners. Security around Sitong Bridge has been notably stringent, to the extent that even the Sitong Bridge sign on the bridge has been removed. China's civil aviation records 30 billion loss last year, accumulating 400 billion during pandemic. The prolonged COVID-19 pandemic over the past 3 years has inflicted severe damage on various sectors in mainland China, including the civil aviation industry. During the recent 2024 National Civil Aviation Work Conference, Song Jiong, the director of the Civil Aviation Administration of China, CAAC, revealed that the civil aviation industry had accumulated losses of nearly 400 billion yuan, approximately $56.12 billion. To break it down, there were losses of 97.4 billion yuan, about $13.7 billion in 2020, followed by 84.2 billion yuan, about $11.84 billion in losses in 2021, and an alarming 216 billion yuan, about $30.36 billion in losses in 2022. Even in 2023, after the pandemic had passed, the Chinese civil aviation industry continued to experience losses of nearly 30 billion yuan, approximately $4.2 billion. According to statistics from Flight Manager, the overall recovery of international passenger flights in the Chinese civil aviation sector in 2023 reached only 37.5% of the 2019 levels. Stock traders on mainland cry rebellion as SPDB advises against stock market investment. As previously reported, on the first trading Monday of 2024, the Chinese A-share market experienced a significant downturn. Both the Shanghai and Shenzhen stock markets saw a considerable drop, ranging from over 1% to nearly 2%. The Shanghai Composite Index fell below the 2,900-point mark. The majority of stocks were in decline, with more than 4,800 stocks dropping and fewer than 400 rising. Quickly, screenshots from investor groups online showed a widespread call to rebel. Comments like "We should blow up the stock exchange," "I no longer trust national policy" slogans, and "This seems like the downfall of a country," were prevalent. Some even said, "Just call out, and I'll join immediately." Financial experts on international social media platforms have analyzed China's A-shares as functioning like a large scythe used by the authorities to take advantage of investors. They suggested that the reason the Shanghai Composite Index has hovered around 3,000 points for many years is due to the Chinese government's financial policies continuously drawing funds from the stock market. The significant drop in the stock market at the beginning of 2024 might be attributed to the Ministry of Finance issuing the 2024 local government debt quota earlier than usual and withdrawing funds from the stock market. Amidst this turmoil, the Shanghai Pudong Development Bank's app pop-up advising against investing in the stock market became a focal point of discussion. This move, interpreted by some as a sensible caution to avoid further losses, was seen by others, notably the Little Pinks, as an act of defiance against government policies in an attempt to short the stock market. The bank's actions, conveyed through messages in their app suggesting secure investment of year-end bonuses in avenues other than the stock market, drew criticism and accusations of market manipulation. In response to these developments, Chinese media sources close to Shanghai Pudong Development Bank stated that the controversial message was merely an advertisement for a bond fund, devoid of any ulterior motives. Following this, a significant number of reports on the bank's alleged anti-market stance were removed from Chinese media, leaving only a few that focused on dispelling the rumors and framing the incident as a misunderstanding. Imminent cleanup in 5 major sectors puts China's capital giants at risk. Following the exposure of severe corruption scandals within the rocket force, the Chinese Communist Party has reiterated its commitment to combating corruption. This renewed effort targets 5 primary sectors and includes stringent measures against corrupt practices, particularly those involving collusion between government officials and business entities. This stance is part of a broader, long-standing anti-corruption campaign by the CCP, which has been active for over a decade and has often been marked by proclamations of substantial progress. For example, on the 8th, Tsinghua reported that during the 3rd plenary session of the 20th Central Commission for Discipline Inspection, CCP leader Xi Jinping claimed that a decade of anti-corruption initiatives had yielded overwhelming victories. Nonetheless, recent revelations, as we've reported, have shed light on pervasive corruption within the CCP's military ranks. Therefore, she also acknowledged that the challenge remains daunting, necessitating a sustained and intense fight against corruption. This situation prompts a critical inquiry. If corruption has been substantially conquered, why is there a persistent, intense need for anti-corruption measures? Mr. Fong Chongi, Associate Professor at the University of Technology Sydney, provides a broader viewpoint. He observes that communist authoritarian regimes rely on consistent political purges, led by the supreme leader, to maintain their power structure. He cites the collapse of the regime once Gorbachev ceased political purges during his reform initiatives. In China, post-Deng Xiaoping era to Xi Jinping's ascent, the political system teetered on the verge of collapse. Consequently, without a lean towards political reforms, Xi Jinping may have to return to authoritarian methods and initiate political purges anew. Mr. Su Ziyun sheds light on the secretive nature of the CCP and People's Liberation Army, PLA, operations. He points out the frequent personnel overlaps between the military and military-industrial sectors, facilitating easy transfers. For example, Li Shangfu's progression from aerospace research to overseeing equipment typifies the interconnection among military, technological, and state enterprises. According to Mr. Su, such interconnections breed corruption, especially when military development projects serve as facades. A recent meeting highlighted the imperative to escalate the fight against corruption across various sectors, including finance, state enterprises, energy, pharmaceuticals, and infrastructure. Particular attention was directed at penalizing collusion between government and business entities. Mr. Fong noted the CCP's current focus on significant capital giants like Jack Ma and Pony Ma for intensifying their anti-corruption crusade. The CCP perceives this as a strategic opportunity to bolster their campaign, integrating these actions into their pre-established goals and strategies. The CCP leadership underscored the need for unwavering loyalty and dependability within the Central Commission for Discipline Inspection to drive the anti-corruption agenda. Recognizing the critical nature of these efforts, the CCP articulated during the meeting the necessity of self-revolution to disrupt the historical pattern of rise and fall, thereby ensuring its enduring existence. Mr. Su Ziyun commented that despite the CCP's identification of continuous governance and anti-corruption as pivotal concerns, the eradication of corruption is implausible under a one-party totalitarian regime. Public data reveals that since Xi Jinping assumed power, approximately 60 generals have been dismissed, and nearly 8 million individuals have faced corruption-related penalties, indicating a growing corruption issue under Xi's regime, potentially jeopardizing the party's foundational governance. In conclusion, Mr. Su posits that without backing from an independent institutional framework, the touted anti-corruption initiatives are essentially hollow. Authentic anti-corruption reform necessitates foundational changes at the systemic level to truly fulfill its intended purpose. Don't forget to leave a comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths.